right? So it's time to get outside and assess your trees. And joining us with some tips, Tim Jackson is here. It's nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thank you for having me.
This is the perfect time to talk about this. I have a ton of trees on my yard, and I always wonder if I'm caring for them the right way, if I'm pruning them correctly, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about this morning.
Right.
So we're in a weird spot right now because a lot of trees are blooming.
Right, they are.
And it still might freeze. Is that good or bad?
It's bad for certain trees if we're wanting fruit, like the peach trees in Fredericksburg. You know, we're worried about those, and we're hoping that they're going to do well enough with the freeze they had. But even some of your flowering trees, you're not going to have that showy bloom for as long as you would have otherwise. So the freeze has caused a couple setbacks.
A little tricky, right?
Sure.
So you're going to see your trees in various stages right now. So let's start over here because you've brought two branches of the same plant, but they're in different stages.
Of course, the girl goes for the flowery
I know,
one,
it's pretty and pink, right?
That's the red bud, of course. It's a lavender flower, but the buds themselves are red, hence the name. So they come out, but this is post-freeze, and you see how it's starting to wilt and you're losing the flowers
post-freeze.
a little earlier.
Okay, so if they fall off, that's okay, they're going to come back?
They're going to come back.
Do I need to cut anything?
Not the flowers, but the leaves will be right behind them.
Okay, sounds good. What do we have over here? What are these?
Well, we've got cedar elm at 2 stages of development, and some are even further out. So this is sort of in between. So this is one that hasn't leafed out completely. These buds are getting ready to break here. And these buds have just broken, and you see the new leaves coming out. And some are fully leafed out. If you're further south in town, you've probably got a lot of green leaves. The ash trees are out, the elm trees are out. But if you're further north, like in Fair Oaks, you probably don't have as many green leaves on your elms yet.
When are we supposed to prune back the branches? What time of year does that happen?
You'd want to do these trees really when you've seen what's coming back green. Some of the more ornamental trees, let's see what freeze we got. So then if we have to reduce them, then we will do that, and we'll know how far to go. But I would wait a few weeks and just see how they turn out. Okay,
so that's important to talk about. We've got some tips to share with the viewers this morning. There's a system, right?
There is.
Number one is clean up, which means go and pick everything back up out of the yard that's fallen over the winter time.
Exactly.
Number two is prepare. What does that mean?
Well, you want to prepare your plants, and a couple ways to do it. You can fertilize them. That's always a good thing to do. So they've got the right nutrition they need because they're about to expend a lot of energy on flowers and leaves and then expansion.
So now's a good time to fertilize?
Now's a good time. And then some mulch. You want to put some mulch down and make sure we protect those root zones and don't over mulch and make a big cone at the tree because that can be really bad for the tree.
Once that's all said and done and we are done with the freeze, then we can start planting and caring for the plants that we've just put down. And then also inspect. What does that mean?
Well, if you're not sure, call an arborist. We'll come out and we'll gladly look at them and just tell you, okay, this is the problem we see here. If we see real decline or some real freeze or some other damage, then we know how to treat them. So what's the plant? What's the problem? How do you fix? That starts with an inspection. Okay,
good to know. A lot of us have oak trees and things. You brought in a branch this morning.
Well,
is this a healthy looking oak tree?
Well, I brought 2 Monterey Oaks.
Okay.
This is last year's leaves and the new buds coming out. This one lost all of last year's leaves for whatever reason right next to one another, and then the new buds coming out and getting some freeze damage. See, they're going gray and just coming out. But they'll put new leaves right behind that, so not to worry. And I brought the only live oak I could find quickly. It was in your front yard, by the way.
Perfect.
You see these tassels coming out. That's actually the flowers. So the flowers come out first, and then the leaves will be right behind them. And live oaks lose every single leaf every year from the prior year, which we're finding in your pool and in your yard and everywhere. And then the tassels come out, and then we get those in the yard, and then the leaves come out, and we can forget about them for a little while. But it's time to prune when you've got issues with the tree growing into things like your roof, like over your driveway, and those things you need to do.
Great information. I really appreciate it, Tim. Thank you so much for coming in this morning. Let me give you some information about the Davie Tree Expert Company. They're in Boerne. The phone number is there on your screen. It's 866-778-1118. And you can also find out more when you go to davie.com.